Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and sitting to my side, my colleague, my cohort, my partner in crime, the wonderful, the magnificent, the one and only, the man who, if you don't know him, well, for those of you who know him, simply no introduction is necessary. And then, of course, if you do know him, simply no introduction will do. I probably butchered that. I was trying to give you this magnificent build-up.
It was lovely.
Yeah, but the one and only Mr. Brian E. Roach. And hey, what's going on, Brian?
Life is beautiful. Life is wonderful. I am on a journey, my friend, and it's a wonderful journey.
Yeah. You know, I think we tried this maybe once before.
We did.
If you
try it
happen,
again.
yeah, you know, looking around, we're both on a journey. We're both on changes. Everybody's got some stuff going on here. You're probably wondering where we have been, and we're both busy. I'm in the middle of a move. If you haven't noticed, for those of you watching on the video version of the podcast on our YouTube channel, which is appropriately named Steel City Underground as well, if you haven't subscribed, hint, hint. Yeah, I'm in the middle of moving. Brian, you got some life changes going on as well. Go ahead if you care to divulge some of that.
Yeah, as many people have assumed, they think we just do this for our living, but we don't.
Wouldn't that be nice, huh?
It would be nice. We can't currently get away with that. But anyway, so yeah, I started a new job. It's a job that I'm very excited about with a startup. It's a startup. I'm not going to go into great detail, but I'll tell you it's a startup, which just means that, maybe one day if the startup starts up and is really successful, I'll be rich. Maybe not.
Blinging, huh? So, myself, big move here, and trying to even get the professor on the horn with his coaching and a spring football, and you did get him there, and he was moving as well, and we're just all over the place. Hey, it's the off season. I know we all believe football doesn't sleep, but we got some catching up to do. It's been about a week. We usually try and do at least two of these, but geez, I alluded to we tried to do this already a little bit and didn't even have the mic plugged in. We had all kind of technical difficulties, so I'm just trying to
practice, man.
I know, trying to settle into my new surroundings and get something out to all the yins out there. And the kid's been on spring break. I have my mother over visiting, so it's just everything's in disarray. I don't know if the Steelers are in disarray. The last time we talked, well, of course, the mock draft insanity. Leanne, the Pittsburgh royalty. She was great. We got to have her on again. I got to listen to the pod. I got to, of course, I'm producing some of this stuff, so I watched tidbits of it, but I listened to it during the car ride, picking up mom and bringing her over and everything like that. But we got some other news. It's been trickling in slowly. I think we finished off with probably Steven Nelson getting released. We talked about Juju coming back, Zach Banner coming back, Tyler Simmons and his little crazy wild story. And there's another wide receiver picked up on one of these pro days, went undrafted last year. The same thing, there wasn't like really a combine, and everything got kind of scattered, and some people didn't get to play any actual seasons or modified seasons, which we'll see. It's going to make everything just a mess as we're discussing different draft stuff that's coming up. But Steven Nelson still maybe some shoes to fill here, but there have been some other moves. I believe we had mentioned officially Robert Spillane. Let's see. Since the last time we discussed, yes, he signed a contract officially. Joe Hague, an offensive lineman, I believe, can play anywhere along the line as necessary, primarily a guard or maybe a swing tackle. Miles Killebrew, they actually labeled him as a DB although he had been playing linebacker with the Detroit Lions and previously with Terrell Austin, who now is a secondary coach with the Steelers, was the defensive coordinator up there when Miles was drafted at Detroit. And, of course, they were going through coaching changes and stuff too. So he went from safety to linebacker, and now he's listed as just DB. Kind of interesting as we're trying to figure out who might be filling in perhaps Mike Hilton's shoes, maybe. And that could be somebody there, kind of a hybrid like a Mark Barron. Cassius Marsh, an edge guy that was a revolving door, unfortunately, especially in that wild card game with the Cleveland Browns, as we saw when Alex Highsmith went down. Let's see. Since then, Jordan Berry signed to a 1-year contract. I know that might not be the most exciting news.
Get to the big one. I don't care about Jordan Berry.
Rashad Coward.
That's not the big one.
But that was pretty big news. It
was nice. It was
his
good.
woman was playing on Xbox Live or something, and he was on the phone. And it got leaked, and then it became everybody's like, "Is this some type of joke?" You know,
it's not the big one though.
Jarvis Miller, linebacker.
Not
Matthew Sexton, another pro day guy, got signed. Kalen Balazs, running back.
No.
They needed a running back. Come on, Brian, running back. Hey,
the big one.
Hey, if anything, I liked Kalen Balazs coming out of college. He's been in some real crap situations. Where all has he been? The Dolphins, who I think misused him. Every one of their running backs stunk up until maybe last year.
Yeah.
The Jets, same situation there. I mean, they had first they had Bell. They got rid of Bell. Then I think they traded for Balazs at some point, but they had LaMichael Perrine. Or Perrine, I'm not sure how you say his name. Maybe it's Perrine. He was okay. He was a rookie, but he got hurt too. Frank Gore, ageless wonder. People want him in Pittsburgh. So maybe Balazs. I'm telling you, this is the big move. This is the guy filling in for still unsigned James Conner's shoes, along with Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland. And Brian, you look a little distraught. I thought this was an April Fool's joke. I saw this on the transaction wire yesterday. It says here. 4/1, April 1st, April Fool's Day. This is why we didn't do this yesterday, by the way, which we could have had a lot of fun with it. Noah Freeman wrote one over on the website. I don't know if anybody even caught it.
I've been a little busy, but I will have to read it. I enjoy our April Fool's joke.
Well, it was It was a throwback Thursday to when Antonio Brown scored off of the hook and ladder play against the Miami Dolphins, and the Steelers ended up making the playoffs. That didn't happen. That was the one where he stepped out of bounds by about a quarter inch. And I wish the referee was just looking the other direction like they do the other 10 times out of 10. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. But this was not an April Fool's joke. This is probably the biggest news, and then we can just wrap the podcast, right? I mean, seriously, this is like the biggest thing.
About all of them, but it's the biggest thing.
They let Vince Williams go. They let Steven Nelson go. It's like the only guy they had signed at one point was Cam Sutton. And it was like they got Juju back on a song to come back for 1 year. And then all of a sudden, this news came across the wire, and it was official yesterday. We're happy about it. Chris Wormley. Oh, no, we covered Chris Wormley already. Never mind. That was more defensive line depth for the other guy, Tyson Alualu, that we thought was going to leave. And then he had a change of heart, and somebody – remember we were talking about this? We were speculating whether his family was down in Florida. We didn't have the details, and apparently it's the other way around. He built his dream house or whatever here in the Pittsburgh area, and his family was here, and he got stuck and couldn't fly because of COVID.
He got the COVID. The Rona got him.
The
only good thing to happen from the Rona, well, maybe it's not the only good thing, but one of the few good things to happen from the Rona is it made Tyson Alualu go, I don't really want to leave.
I don't know if it was the remote schooling or whatever be the case, but he stayed in town and then realized this is where he wants to be. 2-year contract. I talk about the broken clock being right twice a day, right? And we hit the nail on the head so far with Cam Sutton, Juju, Tyson Alualu. I know you wanted Bud Dupree. More than anything. I would have loved Bud Dupree to come back. But we knew that was more than likely not going to happen.
Yes.
So I'm more than thrilled with what little chump change that the Steelers had to be able to do this. And there's people that are out there that are just crying about, okay, number one, I mean, this may be beating the dead horse here, but Ben Roethlisberger helped the Steelers, or if he didn't do anything, he may have been gone. There's people that are complaining, well, he's chewing up all the cap space. He took a $5 million pay cut. Brian, I'm not taking a $5 million pay cut. You're not taking a $5 million pay cut.
I'm not taking a $5 pay cut.
No, not per hour, not per week, not per year. The way that breaks down, man, it's just I still don't get it. I've been trying. I haven't had enough time to see some of the what would you say, the other insanity that's been posted on social media. But a lot of it has to do with Ben never wins. Why are we paying this guy all this money? They would have paid him more if they would have let him go than if he would have redone his contract and he's here. So it's at least helped bring Juju, Tyson Alualu, and Cam Sutton back. Sutton can play on the inside or outside. These are decent moves. I know they're not the biggest moves, but they do tip the cap towards what the Steelers will probably do in the draft too.
Absolutely. And look, it's just it's the adherence to fake news concepts, believing that any reality that you choose to be real is real. You cannot make up and say, oh, Ben Roethlisberger is the reason that they lost Mike Hilton, and Ben Roethlisberger is eating all their cap space. He's not. You just, all you really have to do is, look at actual facts instead of just, read, Yinzer feed on the on the interwebs out there and listen to your boy down the street complaining about stuff. It's not the case. Ben is saving them money, and of the positions that they're in, he's the quarterback that gives them the best chance to win. He did the right thing taking the pay cut. It helped them keep the folks and if you don't think that had something to do with some of these guys signing back, it did. Whether it's Juju or not, I think Juju is just making a real smart move on his own here, but it's all a good thing. Is it splashy? Is it flashy? Is it any of that? No, but when is it ever? It's not gonna be. The Steelers don't spend in free agency, and quite frankly, there's good reason for that. As we've talked about many, many times in the past, you don't win Super Bowls in free agency. You win them in the draft, and you win them on the field. So, that's just
that's true, and with some clever trades too. There's some misconception about what some guys get paid or whatever. Eric Ebron, Vance McDonald previously. Vance McDonald was off a trade. Minka Fitzpatrick comes over off a trade. Devin Bush, they move up to get him via trade. Everyone passes on TJ Watt. Remember when everyone hated that pick? I will bring that up for the end of time. There's things like that just drive me kind of crazy, and I was trying to find some stuff here, and of course now it's not hitting me in the face. It will at 10 o'clock at night when I have nothing better to do and I'm flipping through my phone, and all of a sudden I'll see one of these ridiculous posts in one of the groups, because I was looking up the one in particular, and of course now I can't find it, and that's usually what ends up happening. But anyways, and I also came across Francisco Lindor's contract with the Mets. So you want to talk about spending money? Oh man, it's not baseball. You just don't get to blow $341 million any way that you want. There's an actual cap, and the cap didn't go up. And I'm trying not to repeat myself with that, but some of the moves that they made here. Jordan Berry, okay. We said that maybe he was drug tested last year. Some people are needed to be drug tested last year because he had mostly, I thought, good games. Dustin Colquitt came over and just wasn't what he used to be.
Jordan Berry of old.
Jordan Berry of old. Jordan Berry of new comes in and says, man, I need to keep this job. And he most certainly did. And I think that's the way it's just going to be, is like these 1-year contracts. I mean, it's just it's the way it goes with those positions, unfortunately. Kicker and punter.
Yeah.
I don't want to say dime a dozen, but it's your job's on the line almost every week. They still have Corliss Waitman listed on the roster as well. So we'll see. Believe it or not, Jordan Berry's 30 years old, man. And I mean, punters could get these guys, kickers, punters, specialists. They play until they're like, Vinatieri was like 60 or something. He might still be in the NFL. Yeah. I don't know. It was kind of funny. There was guys that weren't even born yet, I think, when he was first playing.
If only I'd learned how to kick.
I don't know, man. The nerves of it has got to be something else. And I'll never forget Jeff Reed telling us that in Baltimore, you're kicking into that scoreboard screen and they just zoomed in like on your face, like into the face mask, into your eyes and everything. You look up and see that. What do you do, man? I'm probably crapping my pants with 60, 70,000 people or whatever at M&T Bank with the game on the line. And he was talking about kicking at the old Oakland Stadium on the dirt too, and how you have to go find like a baseball field somewhere to kind of practice that during that week. And I don't know, I wouldn't want to deal with any of that stuff. So I don't know. Let's talk about maybe some of the other moves, I guess, somewhat that have transpired here. Let's go back to, well, I think we've already talked about, let's talk about what these moves do. You got Joe Hague and Rashad Coward. And Coward, started like 13 games or something last year. So with the Chicago Bears. So he's at least veteran presence, I'll say. I got to see what Joe Hague actually did here as well. It doesn't mean that the Steelers aren't going to sign offensive linemen, but we're already looking at who's really returning from last year. You've got a core four, and you've got DeCastro on the right side of the line. You're going to have a new center for sure because Maurkice Pouncey walked away. Let's talk about that real quick, too. We had a comment from someone on YouTube. I'll protect the innocent here, but somebody, I don't know, was it me? Somebody has a bus on the way to Canton. Me, you, whoever was on the show for this one. We were talking about free agent targets. And he said he's dumb AF, as you know what. Pouncey was a good starter. No way in hell he deserves to be mentioned with Webster and Dawson. I don't think we were mentioning him with Webster and Dawson, but he's certainly
capable.
I think he could be there. He's a 3-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, 9 Pro Bowls. He made the PFWA All-Rookie team. He was on the NFL All-Decade team for the 2010s. Okay? The Sporting News All-Decade team.
Is he fringe? I don't even think he's fringe. He's lower tier Hall of Fame.
He's only lower tier because they usually disrespect offensive linemen in general. You get one a year if you're lucky. Look how long it took Faneca to get in.
Although centers are a little different because it's centers don't always have to wait as much. It's the quarterback of the line, so to speak. It's the glamour position along with tackles.
Yeah.
And Pouncey did things that other centers can't do. He the way he could move, the way he could pull, the way he could get down the field. He was a different species of center. And here I'll get that. Whoever that individual was, I'll give him more reasons to call me dumb as F. Much the way Mike Webster was a unique center, it changed the position. That Dermonti's different. Dermonti really, literally changed the whole concept of playing center, and may have been the greatest center of all time. I know that will freak out some people who think it was Mike Webster, and I love me some Mike Webster, but Dermonti Dawson was a different animal. So was Maurkice Pouncey. For the era that he played in, he's a different animal. Is he as revolutionary as Dermonti Dawson? No. But crime in Italy, that's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of guy. That does not diminish how good Maurkice Pouncey was.
No, it shouldn't. And I was going to pull up the only seasons he wasn't at least a Pro Bowl selection. I understand some of it's popularity. Some of it could be legacy at the tail end of his career, perhaps. I shouldn't take away everything else he's done. You look at the way that Steelers line was, a vaunted Steelers offensive line and didn't get Ben sacked. You take a look at the numbers that Le'Veon Bell put up for all those years that he was here as well. He started right out the gate as a rookie and made the Pro Bowl. He played one game in 2013, that opener where all the guys got hurt, him, Larry Foote, everybody else. And then in 2015, he got his knee tore up against the Packers in that preseason game too. So aside, you toss out those 2 seasons, every other year he was in the Pro Bowl at the minimum. That's the way the league, the fans, and everyone else thought of him. I understand that there may be different levels in your mind as far as Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? And if we're thinking, maybe a fringe or something like that, but I think he's still a guy that eventually will get in there.
I don't know if he's first ballot. I don't know that he's not.
No, I wouldn't say that.
But
Ben should be.
Ben should be. There's no question.
Polamalu without a doubt. should be as well. I mean, there's just guys like that.
He was.
Peyton Manning, et cetera, et cetera. There's just guys like that. Was Megatron? That was always the argument as well. You know what I mean? So you've got stuff like that. And then I understand there's like the disrespect for the Terrell Owens of the world and some guys that have to wait, like Alan Faneca, that should not have had to wait. Probably one of the most dominant guards ever when you're talking about that position. So I wouldn't necessarily say first ballot, but Hall of Famer, sure. I had to toss that in here for some talk. We still haven't gotten our offensive line show in yet, so chomping on the bit on a little bit of that, but we were going back to the right side of the line. Okay, those guys are coming back to Castro Okorafor. And you got to figure out everyone else on the other side there from the center on over to the left, because Villy's gone, Pouncey's gone. There was some discussion as to whether or not Villy could be brought back. Looks like Zach Banner may be the guy you pencil in there. And then you're going to find out if Coward or Hague or Kevin Dotson. You got B.J. Finney and J.C. Hassenauer so far as centers. Perhaps even guard position. I mean, Finney played there.
Well, Finney can play across there,
he could hit all three. Yeah, he played in Foster's spot for a long time, so we can't even necessarily just say pencil Dotson in there necessarily because we don't know what the draft has yet. And I understand from what we've discussed and some of the things you even said on Mock Draft Insanity yourself, Zach and Leanne talked about, maybe there isn't a guy right at the very top. And Zach was just tweeting this out just the night before, too, about, hey, I said a lot of the same things about so-and-so. I'm trying to think the two guys. It was Dickerson and
Landon Dickerson and Creed Humphreys.
Creed Humphreys, yes.
Yeah.
And he said, I said many of the same things about Travis Frederick. Everybody laughed when the Cowboys went and jumped and took him at like 17 or whatever it was, very high first round. Nobody thought he was like a first round guy. And then, very much the same thing, short career, but, Pro Bowl, all pro caliber guy recreating the wall of Dallas there. You know what I mean? They had Lyle Collins, who fell off a rock for some bad draft news, didn't even get drafted and get signed there, and Tyron Smith and a few others that were in those positions there. I mean, they had a fantastic offensive line there for the beginning of Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott's careers, and Frederick's cut short, but you could have another situation like that. Maybe the Steelers surprise us, but it's the Steelers usually are signing veteran players and they double up and then they'll draft. So if they miss on the draft on let's say one of the offensive linemen, they've got a little bit of an insurance policy here that I think they at least feel, hey, we can roll a year. Maybe we find our long-term starter. And I believe, I don't know, from the way you guys are talking, I haven't dug deep into it. I would say center is definitely a need. Are they going to find the one that they want right now? It took them a few years to find Pouncey, too. Again, what was it? Sean Mahan, and then Jeff Hardings, and then they ended up with Marquise Pouncey in the draft as a first-round pick. So I don't know that they never just jump the gun. It's not a knee-jerk reaction of, we need this, we take this. You know what I mean? So I think if you find a tackle or somebody like that, a David DeCastro or like a Bud Dupree falls in your lap, and it happens to be a position of need too, get the guy that's going to be the 5 to 10 year starter. Why the heck not? So we'll see what ends up happening there. Obviously, running back falls into the same position too, because everybody wants to grab somebody, and I keep saying not in the first round. Second round, a lot of these guys, they're going to trickle into there. It's just been a devalued type position. I think when you overshoot, I don't think running back is the same long-term prospect as taking anyone along the offensive line, Brian. You get a tackle. I think a tackle is a guy who anchors a team for a decade. You look at David DeCastro, there for a decade. Pouncey, there for a decade. Marcus Gilbert, 2011 to 18, 19, however long he lasted around, 8 years or so, second rounder. So you're in that type of position. I look at somebody like Najee Harris or Javonte Williams or Etienne from Clemson, and I just say those guys could be 4 or 5 year contracts, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Think about it. Think about this. Okay, the teams that have doled up the big money for a second contract on their running backs, how many of it has it worked out for?
None, practically.
There you go. It's that simple. When you draft a running back, you're drafting them for their rookie contract. If they can get paid afterwards, fine, but it probably won't be by you, because the drop-off in production after those first 4 years, or if you go ahead and try and get them in the first round and have a fifth year as an extension, it's not worth it, man. It's just not worth it. You draft another one. It's the way it works.
Yeah, and it's a lot less. You got to figure out: are you putting the money into a running back, or are you going to put it into a wide receiver, or are you putting it into a quarterback? In some cases, Jerry Jones didn't. He ponied up the money for Zeke because he didn't have to for Prescott just yet. Now he's ponying it up for Prescott anyways.
Yeah, we'll see what happens when the other stuff needs to happen.
Yeah, and I mean the Panthers paid. I mean CMC got hurt. So McCaffrey got hurt. What else can you say? I can't fault a guy that gets injured, but Le'Veon Bell to the Jets, that didn't work out. A little bit of smoke around the fire as to whether or not Bell could have still come back. And I liked Kalen Ballage. I'm not going to rag on him, but there was a lot of hype around Nile Davis, and that didn't materialize.
Didn't happen to be much of anything.
Well, we went and saw it when we saw it in person too. We were kind of like, man, this guy might be in trouble. I even think he had some fumbling issues right there within like the first week of training camp too. So, but Ballage is a guy you could, it's a guy you could throw the ball to. He could be a third down back type as well, kind of like a Mewelde Moore. I don't know that he's a bell cow type, and I kind of don't know that I want to see a platoon of running backs. But it's been done just the one time before. Mike Tomlin tends to just stick with one guy to carry the rock, whether it been Bell, James Conner, and there was some smoke around the fire as to whether or not Bell could have been brought back. There was a little bit of that being reported out there. I know our own Flash gets another mention here. Zach Celedonia. He was really, banging a drum for that. I don't know that Ballage necessarily cancels that out either, but if you bring one more guy like Bell back into it, it's not looking so good for them to also draft a running back because there's guys you can't keep all these guys
in the room. The room is
Snell, McFarland, Jalen Samuels. I mean, somebody's got to go, and depends on
somebody's. You draft somebody after a sign.
Yeah,
I mean, there's just not that much room, man.
There's not much room, and I think that's where they see Ballage is a guy that maybe he's been sitting there waiting to get signed by somebody. It's somebody that, if you still have the expanded practice squads and things like that, we're going to get a 17-game season. We've at least established that. Extra game now, it'll be whatever the formula is for an NFC opponent, so it's a non-conference game. I guess that was the
Seahawks,
easy way to
Isn't it the Seahawks now?
Yeah, it's the Seahawks. Yeah. I was just about to say that, my man. If this might be a candidate like that, like Wendell Smallwood, who we never got to see at all. I think he got called up 1 week or 2 weeks or whatever it was during the season, but he didn't really get to see any substantial offensive playing time. And, it's still, just because they sign Ballage, just because they sign Hague or Coward, doesn't mean they're not going to take an offensive lineman or a running back. And I'd say the same thing where Miles Killebrew and Cassius Marsh are brought back. These are veterans that are going to be competing against rookies at various positions. I still think maybe Killebrew can be a guy that they bring in and maybe does some of the Mike Hilton stuff. We don't know. At least it's somebody that we know can be brought in as a linebacker / dime backer type that maybe doesn't have to leave the field like Vince Williams did. We knew Vince Williams, great blitzer, great run stopper, limited and passing game. So This is somebody that can maybe stay on the field. There was a little bit smoke around the fire too, bringing in Carl Joseph, formerly Cleveland Browns, formerly of the Raiders, somebody that we absolutely loved coming into the draft out of West Virginia. I think he went like 14th, 15th overall that particular season. He was nowhere within the Steelers' reach as far as being able to be drafted. But somebody that's like a run stopper type safety that, once again, maybe they're talking to him as someone that can play a limited amount of snaps, come in, line up against a tight end, or come in off the edge, or whatever be the case, send them on a blitz. So I would be excited about that move. They need some depth. Sean Davis went over to the Colts, as we kind of thought he wouldn't return. It was kind of surprising they brought him back last year, but I think it was more the COVID stuff when he got cut by Washington. He signed a decent contract there, didn't fit in Ron Rivera and their plans, or whatever be the case, and it was somebody that didn't need to learn the system, didn't need a training camp that you could bring in and fill in if needed, and wasn't really needed.
Yeah, speaks volumes that he really didn't see much time. So
Yeah, and I mean, not that he would have with how loaded they were in the secondary, but again, it wasn't somebody. What Jordan Dangerfield's back again, right? I think.
Yes, I
believe so.
I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be.
Well, I wasn't actually sure.
It's like a bad penny, man. You can't get rid of Jordan Dangerfield. You try, and he keeps coming back.
No, I don't believe he's currently. I don't believe he's currently signed. So that's somebody that's been around for a very long time. He was the special teams captain. I keep wondering that because it's like, was he back? Is he back right now? No, he's still currently a free agent. You know what? I never knew his full name. This guy's got he's got a heck of a name here. It's not a serial killer name because that would be like three, the three names, but it's Jordan Isaac Alden Dangerfield. That's great. That's almost like a James Bond or, like a Austin Powers type name or something like that. Secret agent.
Giad.
So what? No, don't do that.
Giad. Giad.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of names, you said it. Wendell, how would you like to have grown up with the name Wendell Smallwood?
He has to have a nickname. But what's his name? Gainwell. Still.
Yeah, well, that's a good football name, right? Gainwell, and I'm a running back. Gainwell, it's good. We talked about that on Mock Draft Insanity. But Wendell, first of all, is there a better name for someone with the last name Smallwood than Wendell? It goes to, I mean, I hate mocking Wendell Smallwood. Shame on me. But I'm sorry, that's a name I don't want.
I think of The Simpsons with Bart making the prank phone calls to Moe's Tavern. That's what I start to think of. Oliver Smallwood. Do
you have Smallwood? Is Smallwood there? Is your wood small? No.
I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head. I'm not a sharp man. I haven't been doing this. I've been off for a week. Cut me some slack here. Wendell Lin Smallwood Jr. So you can't make fun of him. His dad he's the second one, and he may even have a third. He may have a child.
Well, that's just cruel.
Yeah,
then.
But
Dad had to know what happened in high school when he was named Wendell Smallwood. That's cruel, man.
It is. His wiki hasn't been updated yet because I don't see him listed on the actual roster on Steelers.com, which they usually keep pretty up to date. I mean, you got guys like Steven Denmark that I didn't even know was on this roster from Valdosta
That's a whole country.
State.
We got a whole country there.
DeMarcus Christmas. I mean, you talk about all names team. We've got it here.
That guy. Denmark has to make the team so that we can, if something goes wrong, we can say there's something rotten in the state of Denmark.
No, we don't want anything to go wrong. Here's another gentleman we don't talk about. We got to get to an offensive line show and talk about it because Gerard Jones is still here too. He was XFL or maybe whatever, but it's 6'6", 320. Another guy that maybe molded into that tackle Zach Banner type mold, I should say. Blah, 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 blah. Anyways, I think we talked enough about the offensive line. We talked about Balaj and the running backs. We were talking a little bit about maybe some secondary stuff. Some of the other moves, so. I mean, special teams is pretty much shored up and locked in there. So I guess, Ray McLeod was already back. So we still think top of the draft, offensive line, even maybe double dip. I think running back.
Look, I vacillate with this now, and I'll tell you why. Do I think it's going to be an offensive lineman? I think if the offensive lineman they've targeted is there, yes, it will be an offensive lineman. Do I think they're hoping it's an offensive lineman? Yes, I think that's what they're hoping. But if there's a run on tackles, because as much as the so-called experts out there want to mock Creed Humphreys in the first round to us, no, there is not a first round center in this draft. And I understand, and because the professor makes a good point, sometimes if that's your guy and he's the highest ranked guy on your board that's left at 24, fine. But I don't believe the Steelers are going to rank Creed Humphreys that high. And there's going to be other guys at positions that they're going to have ranked higher at 24. That's just what I think. So yeah. I don't think that's the case.
At 24, but what if they feel he's pick
55?
Or
55
50?
Is a possibility.
Yeah, what if you can't get him at 55? And if you get him at 55,
if you can't get him at 55, you can get Trey Smith in third round.
So then when are you grabbing your running back?
My ideal draft would be tackle, running back, center.
I'm still thinking center could be. There's 2 fourth-round picks that they got at 128 and 140. I don't know how far you go down into round.
I don't know if Trey Smith will be there in the fourth. And I in my view, you got to hit home runs with 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
When you get into the fourth round, maybe you're lucky. and maybe you're not. And this is not a deep draft interior on the offensive line. So the guys that are decent are going to go before the 4th round, I think.
Well, we talked about how many guys are starters in the NFL right now that have went pretty deep in the draft, starting centers, or undrafted entirely. So still a possibility. The reason
Those
for
are deeper drafts, man. Deeper drafts.
Well, the reason for my little exercise here was I was talking about Miles Killebrew. I'm talking about Carl Joseph, and I'm talking about when the Steelers get some veterans that maybe aren't the biggest flashy names. When it's a flashy name like, let's say, Mike Mitchell or Eric Ebron, that means they're not drafting a tight end, they're not drafting a safety in that spot.
Right.
Miles Killebrew isn't a big flashy name. Cassius Marsh isn't a big flashy name. And I know they're not the same position, but we're talking linebackers. We're talking a 3-4. We're talking 4 linebackers on the field. We're talking Vince Williams isn't there. We're talking Robert Spillane will be, but we're also talking filling in for Mike Hilton. We're talking about Terrell Edmonds, possibly going to be 5th-year option, but, entering a contract year as well, and no depth behind them at safety. We're also talking about maybe not having another cornerback. How much do you talked? It was all offense. Where do we fit some defensive picks? How PO'd is Steelers Nation going to be if they go and pick 24 and take an inside linebacker? I don't think they'll take edge. I don't think they'll take edge. I just saw the mock draft. What was that that I pulled that up
somebody,
from?
Somebody
NFL.com?
pulled up a mock draft, that hadn't taken an edge draft because the guy was like, well, why not?
Yeah.
Because, why not? Well, because Alex Highsmith, that's why not. But it's absolutely feasible that an inside linebacker could be drafted. Look, I've seen mock drafts that have had Micah Parsons from Penn State fall below the Steelers. If he's there at 24 and your ideal tackle is not there, you don't take a running back. You take him.
Yeah, well,
right? That's what you do. But the likelihood is he's gone before then. There's no question about it. But again, it's all about value. And the Steelers do a very good job, and you're absolutely right in pointing out that the way they line themselves up is, here's where we think we need depth and strength. We plan on attacking these positions in the draft, but if we miss, we have to be prepared, right? If the guys we want go before we have a chance to get them, we got to be prepared. Or conversely, if somebody drops in our lap that we cannot pass on, even if the guy we wanted is there, now we still have to be ready to not go that direction. The Steelers almost always go with who they've got on their board at the highest spot, regardless of whether it's a position or need or not, right? So, I mean, if they think that the edge guy is there at 24 and he's better by far than anybody else on their board that's still around, then they'll take it. But I think the likelihood of that being the case is slim to none. But again, inside linebacker, I can see being addressed in 1, 2, or 3. Without a doubt. And I think that they can get somebody that can contribute at those positions. It's a possibility. It just depends on how the board falls.
I was looking at this. Well, a lot of people are saying Patrick Surtain the second, but he's
never going to be there.
They have mocked here at 9th overall to the Denver Broncos, but five quarterbacks in the top 10, Brian. I got to bring this was Adam Rank's.
I'd love it. I will do a quarterback dance if we have 5 quarterbacks go in the top 10.
Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Mac Jones, top 3. Jones going to the 49ers.
Yeah,
Wilson going to the Jets.
Doughboy's not going top 10.
Man, there's some people that are talking, almost everyone's talking about how you want a mobile quarterback. And remember, Ben did this too. He had a lot of run and gun, and Mac Jones just a traditional, just sit in the pocket. And I just think he had a lot of talent around him. And apparently there was a Bill Belichick kind of rolling his eyes or staring into space on one of these deep pass overthrows the other day that made the cameras cut over to him like he's this great quarterback talent evaluator or something. I don't know. Maybe he is. You know what I mean? He did find Tom Brady. So, but I don't know. I laugh at some of these. Some of them I think, fall into place. Like, where does Kyle Pitts fall? You know what I mean? The guy's a monster and had a pro day where they were saying they should throw him eggs because none of them will break. Catches everything going his way. What was it? Sewell, the tackle, top tackle in the draft, possibly.
Oh my God. If he were there,
more than likely going to go maybe to the Bengals is what they're showing here. And
that's what should happen.
Yes, it should. They'll take Jamar Chase. That's what they'll do, or they'll take Justin Fields. There'll be something stupid there. But they have Fields.
They won't take Justin Fields.
No. But I'm just going down the list. They had Fields to the Lions and Trey Lance to the Panthers. So that was the 5 overall in the top here. I'm trying to keep scrolling down as I see. Let me see. Where were the Steelers at? Micah Parsons.
Just remind me, the
49ers
traded up to 3, right? Yeah. So you do kind of have to wonder, is it a quarterback they're going after? Because they'll have their choice of quarterbacks.
Yeah, and Garoppolo, they could still stick with him for a year, but even if they wanted, they're now like underneath the heavy financial burden of keeping Jimmy Garoppolo. So nothing has happened yet because they probably want to see what ends up. John Lynch is pretty ruthless over there. He's been making some crazy trades and getting a lot of value out of that.
Did you see the George Kittle to the Ravens or something? What purple uniform he had on? He did a tweet. Oh no, it was Jacksonville. Thank God it couldn't have been the Ravens. But why do they need yet another tight end? But
because they have nobody else, because they can't get any wide receivers.
Yeah, John Lynch tweeted, "I just got out of draft meetings at George Kittle. This is not funny."
That's great. I didn't know. I had missed that with all the shenanigans going on here. So, Jalen Phillips, edge rusher from Miami. That's who was mocked here to the Steelers from Adam Rank. Look, I think they'll shore up some depth, but I think Alex Highsmith getting an opportunity to start, it's not like they pulled him off of the field. And now that he already got his beak wet, so to speak, he's not going anywhere. I don't think they're going to throw a first rounder at a position where they've got a guy from the 3rd round that's probably going to be the starter. I think you're more than likely to see something that's later, maybe one of those 4th round picks at edge. But this is the reason I'm bringing this up is they didn't really address this in free agency. They're just bringing back somebody who was in the system last year with Cassius Marsh that they plucked off of the 49ers practice squad for whatever, we don't know what town evaluations were done, scouting reports or anything else on the guy coming out of the draft, etc. So, but I just think this is kind of preposterous here going this early. But again, like you were saying, maybe one of the linebackers, another inside linebacker. I don't know if they go safety. I think that's just a little too top heavy
Safety's
right now
unlikely.
with Fitzpatrick and Edmonds, but I could see even a corner. I could
Absolutely.
see it.
The right guys there. I could see them drafting a corner. I could see them drafting a inside linebacker as a potential defensive push in the first round. Unless it's a guy that unless it's a guy that should have gone in the top 10 and I don't even know if there is a top 10 D-line guy in this draft. But I mean, unless it's something like that, you're not going to go D-line because your D-line is pretty much set. The edge is like, I enjoy mocking people who do stupid things in their mock drafts.
Oh, we're going to do that soon. We're kind of doing it right now.
Yeah. But that's why I'm not going overboard on this, because it's on the outside edge of a possibility, but it's a possibility. So again, it just depends on the guy that is there and how they've got him evaluated. I can understand the need to bring a guy in because of 2 reasons. Yes, Art Rooney said, we have every intention of making sure TJ Watt is a Steeler for the rest of his life. But what if they can't do it? Right? What if the deal just is so ridiculous that they can't do it? And if that's the case, you got to have something in reserve. So that's why I say it's a outside possibility.
Well, there were 3 tackles that go in this mock for the rest of the first round. One of them to the Ravens, Jalen Mayfield from Michigan.
I'd be so annoyed if he goes to the Ravens.
I know. Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech, and Liam Eichenberg to the Kansas City Chiefs out of Notre Dame. So it's like you kind of scratch your head there. I'm just thinking of the reaction of Steelers Nation if they go in a different direction and don't take one of these tackles. I think some people are still going to be upset because there's so many that are on the bandwagon of the flashy running back stats. And they're thinking running back, they're thinking Najee Harris, they're thinking all these other guys. In fact, was there a running back actually mocked? I'm going to look. I don't believe there was a running back mocked in this entire first round. I'm not going to lie. Let me see. Oh, Travis Etienne, pick 30 to the Bills is where they put him. That's kind of interesting, to be completely honest. So he's the only one in this entire mock draft.
That's the way it's been, man.
Yeah.
Running backs, all these, that guy who told us there were going to be 5 running backs go in the first round,
even Adam Rank doesn't think so.
He's on running backs nuts.
Yeah, he's
on their jock. He's on their jock. Get off their jock, man. They're not going 5.
Yeah. So anyways, I was looking through just a few. Oh, that's what we ended up missing. Does Mark Madden still hate you? Look, I missed that. I missed it because we talked about it. That was the last show, and we did a little too much. And I said something about Hitler in the room with Mark Madden and a gun with 2 bullets. And I may have gone a little too far and a little too overboard there because I had lack of any. That was foggy. I didn't have the example.
I was having a conversation with this Twitter guy, Sonny something. I can't remember his full Twitter handle, and I apologize with him. He's a cool guy. I like him a lot.
Yes.
But and I said, I hate Mark Madden. I want to punch him in the face. Mm-hmm. And apparently Mark Madden, as they say, speak of the devil and the devil appears. Mark Madden saw that and said, yeah, you wouldn't dare. And I'm like, and all of a sudden that exploded into this gigantic ongoing thing. And you know me, I'm not going to back down.
No.
If you want to fight, Mark, I'm there. I'll be there. I'm an old dude. I'm probably older than you, but maybe not. I don't really know how old you are, and I don't care. Mark, Joe's going to go find out. But
up right now, you saw my eyes divert from the
I did.
Camera.
But I am quite happy to have a for charity pay-per-view battle with Mark Madden. He did it in wrestling, so do it with me, dude. I'm not going to get anything out of it, nor do I want anything out of it other than the pure, unmitigated pleasure of punching you in the face. That's it. You can do whatever you want. And I said, you can run the whole time and just run around the ring and stay away from me. I don't care. You can do whatever you want. And somebody said, well, we knew this wasn't real as soon as you said Mark Madden was going to run because there's no way he's going to run. And I said, okay, right. So
he's
he
60.
set his.
He's 60.
Okay, so I'm fine. He's got me by a couple years. Not a lot, but it's close enough.
He has you by
fine. You know what? I'll fight
too.
you with one hand behind my back. I only need my right hand. I don't need the other.
He has the reach advantage as well, but it's in his midsection. So
yeah, I don't care about that.
Yeah, well,
but I said MMA style. It's got to be MMA style because I don't want sissy. If he wants to be boxing, it's fine. He can wear the headgear and all that crap. I don't care. Anyway, he was all over me for about 30 seconds, complaining and being mean and stuff. Then he vanished, and some troll that has 4 followers, that's clearly Mark Madden just not wanting to be
burner
known
account
that he's that. Yeah, his burner account, because he talks just like him, comes after me, and he keeps saying things like, oh, you'll pee your pants, or whatever the heck he's saying. And this does not impact me at all. I don't care. But if you don't think I'd do it, just let's go for it, Mark, and I'll do it. But he's not going to. Yeah, and why would he? Why should he risk getting beat up by some other old dude?
Well, one of our commenters on here too, Steelers Freak, a frequent commenter, the frequent freak commenter. He had a theory on this. This is the reason I was bringing it up. I was looking at the comments to see if there was anything else I wanted to bring up from the last couple of shows, and a lot of people say, "Hey, you're doing great, thank you." And it's like, well, thank you for listening and supporting us as always. But he said he had a theory that Mark is hypercritical because he has a strong passion for the team. That's most of the reasons why everyone's hypercritical. But the main reason is because I think he picks out things in order to just be kind of like the great value brand sports version of Howard Stern.
Yes, absolutely. There's no question about it.
It's the shock jock value to get clicks and views and everything else. So
I don't actually have any problem with what Mark Madden says on his show. Right? Somebody else lost their mind because I told them I've never listened to Mark Madden on the radio. I never will. I don't live in Pittsburgh. I don't get him here, nor do I want to. I don't listen to him, right?
You do the radio.com or whatever.
I don't want to. I don't want to listen to his show. I'm trying to remember
where he's at. 93.7 The Fan or
I don't even know.
He does the show on. But anyways,
but let me finish this. My only interactions with him have been on Twitter, right? And my only complaint with Mark Madden is he says crap on Twitter to just regular people that if he said it to their face would get him punched in the face.
Yeah.
I don't care what he says on his show. I understand he's an entertainer. But when you bring that nonsense into other people's lives, there used to be consequences, right? If you were a shock jock and you decided to go out in the world and use your shockiness in front of somebody, you'd get beat up. Now you can just do it because you're on Twitter and you're anonymous and you're safe and you're protected and blah. I'm just being me. Stop. Just stop. Just treat everybody else the way you would want to be treated, and nobody would ever have a call out with you. When you're really in real life with them, as much as Twitter is real life, which it really isn't. But, that's my issue. My issue is Mark Madden on Twitter, not Mark Madden, the radio guy, because I could care less because I've never heard him.
You had me thinking right there about a particular song, Brian. Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy?
I don't know.
Are you caught in a landslide? No escape from reality? Anyways, a little Bohemian Rhapsody for you there.
Yes, there you
Mamma
go.
Mia, Mamma Mia. I wasn't done. The guy had actually typed Steelers Freak typed 2 sentences here, and I got one of them. He points out Steelers culture changes ties them to his decade of frustration with more than underachieving, and it's a theory. But the problem with that is that, I don't know, a decade of underachieving, God, Steelers fans really don't know what, I don't know if it's you could call it underachieving or whatever. It's being spoiled when it comes to, success or whatever. Would you have hoped that the Killer Bees and everybody did a little bit more? Absolutely. But you just, when you lose guys, again, one of the guys that were on here was like, well, but Tomlin's only beaten backup quarterbacks in the playoffs since they last won a Super Bowl or whatever. And it's like, okay, yeah, A.J. McCarron in Cincinnati, without Le'Veon Bell, without D'Angelo Williams as well, playing with Jordan Todman and Fitzgerald Toussaint. Ben gets, taken down and out of that game. MMA kneed in the ribs by Vontaze Burfict. Antonio Brown gets taken out, and that's the reason why they're so shorthanded. Sammy Coates, if you remember him playing his first ever game the week after against the Denver Broncos, it's not to make up excuses. They play against the Jaguars with that team was loaded in 2017. They go for it on 4th down twice. They're aggressive. They don't get there. They turn the ball over. They don't have Ryan Shazier. If they have Ryan Shazier the whole season, no doubt in my mind that team.
That's a different story.
AFC Championship game for sure. Easy. Walk into it. It's just, he was so impactful, the turnovers and everything else. In fact, he's the reason why they win that game in Cincinnati against, what's his name? Hill, the running back. That should have never happened in a million years, forcing a fumble there. So there's things like that just kind of, but Mark does this stuff. He doesn't do it with the Pirates because people don't care. I don't think they're as passionate, and they expect them to be mediocre. People expect the Steelers and the Penguins to both be top flight teams when you have guys like Ben Roethlisberger or Sidney Crosby or Evgeny Malkin, and he does the same exact thing with the Penguins as well, and it's because it gets under your skin that way. It don't work if he does it with the Pirates. Nobody's listening to the show. That's why he's still talking about the Steelers in March, just like in April, like just as we are. So, Brian, you know what? I'm going to put a bow on it right there. I just had to bring it up because I remember you had made some comment about it with Leanne and Zach, and we had missed everybody here, if they weren't paying attention to Twitter, missed that whole exchange and back and forth. And I mean, as soon as we talked about it an hour later, somebody had either heard it or they saw whatever you had said on Twitter, and it was off to the races. And you're saying your wife said that I disclaimered you, and yeah, kind of in a certain roundabout way. It's like,
yes,
I can neither deny nor confirm that I was disclaimering you, but I kind of did. But thanks, man. It's good. It's fun. Hopefully, I'm missing my Permane Brothers brick wall. I am missing it a little bit. I thought about maybe doing a little bit, but for now, I had to put up.
I like it.
I had to start with something. I'm going to keep adding little pieces here or there. The little gnome guy is just kind of hanging, chilling there for now.
I have that gnome guy. It's all good.
There's several of them that are out there. It's kind of crazy. There's a few different varieties of that. I got above my head Chuck Nolan, the Chiefs.
I got that can. I have several of those. I don't know what's the fourth one in line.
That's Jerome Bettis. And that actually,
I can't really tell from here.
Let me try and see what the heck this even is. This is also, it is also an Iron City.
I knew it had to be an IC.
Yeah, congratulations to a true champion.
Oh yeah, it is. It's Bussy. Yeah,
Must Stops Here Foundation. So I also have I have the bus cereal somewhere hanging around here. I got to unearth that. That's boxed up somewhere as well. So
Nice.
yeah, pretty cool stuff. Hey, I'm going to try and keep adding to the wall. We'll see what ends up happening here. So thanks for joining me once again, man. And we'll hope to do this a little more regularly starting next week. Hope you have a good Easter weekend here with everyone. And we'll see you back in a week, everyone, including Brian. Thank you, Brian. I'll let you get
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Missed you, buddy.
Yeah,
good to be back on, and as you said, man, the like and subscribe and all that kind of good stuff, and keep the comments coming, and if you want to hashtag Madden charity fight, that's good. I'm with you.
Absolutely.
I'm in.
Absolutely. Hey, I'll be there. I'll referee, and I'll see some pro wrestling stuff come into there. I'll cheat. So I'll tell you right now, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to cheat for you, Brian. No,
okay.
no,
I don't need it. I don't need any help, man.
The bad guys are called heels. Like the Grinch song. You're a heel.
Yeah.
So I won't heel turn on you, which is meaning I turn from being the good guy and I turn against my tag team partner here, Brian. There's no way.
That's good.
We are brothers from other mothers. Bond is thicker than blood right here. So
absolutely.
Of course, we'll put a bow on this. Thanks, everyone, for listening, supporting, being patient, waiting. Hopefully you have a good holiday weekend as well, and we'll see you back here next week. My name's Joe. His name's Brian. Until next time, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.